Hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Welcome to Beyond Your Radio and our latest album listen challenge. This is episode number 9 this year. Tonight, it's the first time, I believe, that the two panelists here have challenged each other. Cool. The panelists have never heard their album that was given to them. So they got the chance to listen to it, absorb it. Then they're going to tell us about it, score it, and then they'll let us know if this is where it's going to fall in their listening habit after this. But before we get to the album listen challenge, have you subscribed to the channel yet? We are at 94 subscribers at this point, and this is our 291st video. Oh my God, that's going to be terrible math going forward. In order to get to 500, I'm going to have to produce a lot of videos. For those of you that have subscribed, if you know any other music lovers, obviously tap them. We'd certainly love to have them along for the daily journey.
The
Please
poke
remember
button is
each
back on
panelist-
Facebook. Poke them.
Yes, you can poke us. Yeah.
There's poke back on?
Yes.
Oh, no way.
Ah,
Poke
wow.
them and let them know the channel's here.
I thought poking was done. Please remember that each panelist will reveal the album they received, their initial thought, and without listening to it, and then they'll get into the scoring and discussing it. Scoring will be, again, album artwork 0 to 5, album flow of music 0 to 5, the musicianship, band, and melody 0 to 5, accessibility 0 to 5. Again, that's the ease to get into listening to it, where 0 is easy, 5 not so much. Oh, wait a minute, is that reversed? Huh. Now I don't remember.
Wait, 5 is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
best.
so five is it's easy to get into, right? Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You know what screwed that up is the one time when Jeff, Grateful Dude,
Mhm.
gave it a 5, and I'm like, that album is not even close to easy to listen to, to get into. Anyway,
Mhm.
and then the album production 0 to 5, and then we'll go back and tally up the votes or the scores and see who doesn't win and see who doesn't win and see who doesn't win. Then finally, the last question will be where it falls in the listening habit. Is it one and done? It's not really for you. Number 2, did you like it? It'll grow on me like fungus. Number 3, I really enjoyed it, and it'll probably become an album I go back to from time to time. And number 4, I can't believe I missed this. It's one of my new favorite albums. Holy crap. On the panel, the man who now knows a cat named Virtue, Alex Kaluzny. And the woman who is going to get all due respect after tonight, Suzie Q. So, how are we all tonight? You're all good, besides who's got the headache? So I'll try to keep my voice down.
Keep it down.
Keep it down. Simmer down now.
All good.
Okay. So we'll start with Alex. What album did Sue give you?
I got The Weakerthans, is the name of the band, and the album is Reconstruction Site. I entirely went into this, I was just saying pre-show, I did no research on this album ahead of time. I really wanted to, I try to always give these albums what my opinion is right off the initial jump of listening to it and give it a full attention right off the bat. I can tell you that it started already in the first song. I wanted to see second, third, fourth track if my mind was still going this route. It reminded me so much of when I listened to Hawksley Workman's Battlefords song. And I am immediately thinking in my head, I go, there's no way this isn't a Canadian band. And my God, was I right. Because I think my favorite song on this album is One Great City. Because I will never hear Winnipeg the same again.
There you go.
And I should have played that damn song with how bad they played in the playoffs too. So I thought that was funny and fitting. So I really enjoyed this album top to bottom. I thought at times it was weird that I know the lyrics were very pointed and intentional and storytelling. It was really hard to focus on the lyrics because I thought the musicianship from the standpoint of and it didn't help. For the listeners, I'm in a patio that's connected to both my garage doors, and it gives an outdoor vibe. And I listen to the album out here. It's the perfect mood music for being out here.
Yeah.
And it's good patio music for me. Like the way that it plays, it fits. Just it's a sunny day, I can relax, I can throw this on, it's easy, and then should go towards the scoring here a little bit later. But for me, I was so caught up in how the sound was and how the music sounded to the environment I was in, and it was like, oh shit, I should probably be listening to the lyrics right now. I'm losing track of this for a second. It's fitting too well. So I was able to acknowledge in some songs that it was there. And in others, I just wasn't even paying attention. And it took me a second listen. And even then, I'm still in the same mindset where I'm like, I'm still just enjoying where I'm at right now. And this is just fitting too well for my surrounding. So it was a little tough in that sense. But for what I did focus and pay attention to, and really I thought I would have had an easier time with that, given that a lot of the tracks were very short in length. And maybe that's also why it was easy to miss a track or two of not focusing on the vocals. But I think for me, it was good to hear how pointed some of the stories were in them. A cat named Virtue being from a cat's perspective.
He writes everything from someone else's perspective, I believe.
And I believe, and from when I did go back at the end and look up to confirm things too, I'm pretty sure everyone in the band had a chance at writing something in there, if I'm not mistaken. So it was cool to see that from that perspective too, that everyone had a different voice in it, but that it meshed really well together. When nothing was really out of place, where it's like, oh, you could tell that's Ringo Starr's song out of the McCartneys and Lennons. Like there was none of that. It was very consistent from the songwriting standpoint there too. But it was funny that I was able to pick out this is a Canadian band by sound, because I think there was a part of me that was bouncing from where I was trying to put my finger on it. Obviously I knew it wasn't ska, but I'm like, but it's got a good up tempo bass to it. And then I'm, bouncing around going, well, why does it remind me of that? And then it reminded me of something more indie in Canada, like the Hawksley Workman type stuff. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to put my finger on the pin here. So, yeah, I mean, top to bottom, it was a really, really good album. And I'm going to cheat and go with the last question that you would normally ask first here and say that this album is one that I will definitely go back to. And I'm even going to put a new category in there. This is going to be a seasonal album for me. I can't see myself on a dark, rainy day throwing this album on and saying, this is why I'm going to go to it. I'm going to be, it's a nice 70, 80 degree day. I'm out on the patio and kicking back, and this is going to be such an easy listen for me that I'm going to be able to throw it on in this occasion. So I can see myself going back to this album for sure. I think the other thing that's interesting with this, for me being such a singles based person, is I can't listen to just one track on this album. I think if I'm going to listen to any part of this album, I'm just going to turn the album on. So I think this doesn't go very individual. I think this is and it's an easy listen because of the length of those songs to listen to the entire album and not feel like you dedicated a part of your day to listening to this album. It isn't Chef Jeff giving me the band, this isn't me having to, cook a meal, eat it, and clean up every dish there is, and I'm still not even 75% of the way through. So, and if you know my cooking, you should know that's still a long ass time. So yeah, this was an easy listen. It's easy to listen to the whole album from that standpoint. The length isn't too long. It accomplishes its job, and normally I'll rip the fact that songs are too short and I want more. It just seemed to fit perfectly the way it was needed, and it's one I'll go back to and do it as an album whole and not just a track or two here or there.
All right. Well, how about the artwork?
Oddly, I'm going to give this a 5. because I thought it kind of fit how it felt listening to the album. It was random. It was artsy. It was, you don't know what the hell's going on, but at the same time you do. Like it has a weird, very good, not contrast, but like reminder of what it's like listening to this album. So yeah, I oddly give this a 5. It's kind of quirky and fun, but it's there.
Yeah, yeah. So I believe it was Pitchfork
And it gives the
that
indie vibe too.
but yeah, it is an indie rock band technically
Yeah.
to some degree, I guess you could say. It's funny because that I think they were on Epitaph, which was predominantly hard punk, like the Bad English and Offspring, right? I think those are the people on it. I could be wrong, I guess. But at Pitchfork reviewed this album back in 2003 when it came out. And they they were but they said something about the album cover. Like that was the most interesting thing about, I think it's from Joseph Cornell, tiny drawings of dancing trees, angry bears, bloody frogs and stuff. So that I just thought the review they didn't get it. They didn't get it. But not everybody gets it. But if you got time and you're out there from us, and I would look at some of the reviews. There's actually a guy who did a review of this album 20 years later, who's just loved that band and how unique it is, that album. He considers it to be their best album. Flow. What's the flow for you? What's the score on that?
I'll give that a 4.
All right.
I thought I could definitely tell the sections of it, but like there was one song and I didn't love the like, and when I say the end, I don't mean the end track. I mean like the literal last 5 seconds. But there was another track that was like just, and I thought it was creative that I cut. But the way I listened to the album, I think I hit an ad, and I would love to know what that transition was like a little bit in there.
That's true. That can be bad. Yeah.
So, because I wanted to hear that album connection in there from track to track, just the way that was accessible to me from a physical standpoint or an audio standpoint of listening to it. I would love to know what that would have been like, but I'll give it a 4. It's not perfect, but
I'll give you the CD. You can find out.
Yeah, it's got connection to it.
Musicianship, melody, band.
I was really hard in scoring this because I couldn't tell if the musicianship was good or it was just fitting what I like to listen to. And especially with this genre, it's a little different that way. So I'm going to err on the good side of this and give it a 4. I thought it was good. I thought there was definitely parts I could pick out in there. I thought the drums were very basic. The beat was very basic. I did like the guitar in it a lot. And I thought the melody and the vocals were good. So I'll just give it a 4. It fits.
Cool. What about the accessibility?
5. If you can't listen to this record, like as good as I thought it was from a standpoint of I'm putting this in my ears and I want to be dialed in and try to focus on it, you could easily throw this on a speaker out on your back patio and forget anything's going on. It can just play in the background and it'll run fine for anybody. You could be hosting a party and it's just on as speaker music and it'll fit. So I thought accessibility, it was a 5. That was an easy listen.
Yeah.
And if you want something deeper out of it, you can get it.
Yeah. Production.
This is where the indie part comes in. Because again, I think it has an artistic value to it that it comes out the way it does. But you can definitely hear the rough spots to the production too a little bit as well, where it's, a little bit more.
Well, there's no auto tune on this record.
Right. So there's not a lot put into it from that standpoint. So it depends how you want to score this. Do you want them to have put more into it, or do you like the fact that it's a little more, what's the word I'm looking for, stripped down or raw or something like that? Not stripped down, but a little more raw.
It's less tooled with.
Yeah, and so it depends how you want to score it. Do you want to knock the fact there wasn't a higher production amount to it because of that, or do you want to love the fact that it's a little more authentic? that was the other thing I was going to mention about the album before I score that. It felt like to me listening to this, I would love to go see them live because I got a sense of what it would be like for them to perform this album live, that it would be fun for them to perform it. So trying to score that's tough. It's not a 5. I'm bouncing between a 3 and a 4. That's where my
There it
half
comes.
comes in. So I'll
3.5?
I'll give it a 3. I'll give it
All
a
right.
slight knock there because it's not bad. It's just it's in the bell curve at the very median there. It did its job. So
All right. So Blackjack 21. You won't see them live, obviously, because they don't play anymore, but lead singer really didn't like to tour and do any of that. So guess that's his prerogative. Sue, why was that something you sent to Alex? Or,
So first of all, I think we typically do shows that are from the league. So, and I have like a basic understanding of what your likes are. And I didn't want to, not that I'm mean or cruel, but I didn't want to like go the complete opposite. I wanted to see if I could find something other than what you default to. Like I know the bands that you love and you talk about, and I'm like, okay, well, what's one similar though that he hasn't heard that would be something he could get into? So that was kind of why I went with it. So now I feel like the album whisperer or like an album profiler. So
album profiler. There's our new show. You can
Yeah.
host.
so but I it's just a solid album and I'm glad you liked it.
it was a really good surprise. I was not
Yay.
I had no idea that it was gonna sound like that. I thought you'd try to profile very if here's my one end of my listening spectrum and here's the Grateful Dude recommending something to me.
Right. Right.
I thought, you can swing the pendulum and hit the
Yeah.
extreme end. This fit gently in the middle where it's new, but it's not something I always listen to, but it's also something that I would listen to. It hit the middle ground perfect. And I think that kind of summarizes my entire experience listening to the album too, from what I've said about it.
Cool. Yes.
Yeah. Well, she wanted to send you Faust. She
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So Sue, now to you. What album did Alex send you?
So I got Asking Alexandra, Like a House on Fire.
This is probably why you have a headache.
Well, no, it's not. No. And I had never heard of them before that I'm aware of. If it's been played in my presence, I don't remember it.
But you have.
But I
Someone
have.
told me.
Well, that's why I'm saying.
In a way.
Like, okay. So do you want me to just talk and then you'll tell me where I heard it before?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when I was gonna go to listen to it and it just hit me wrong. So I shut it off and I'm like, okay, I'm not ready to do this yet. So so I came back to it and so this album is 15 songs long, I believe. And it starts out on the heavier side of things. I didn't really look into the band like you, Alex. I didn't really want to know too much. I don't like to sway like my opinion based on weird random stuff. So I just wanted to listen to it. And like I said, the first 2 songs were not crazy or heavy or anything like that, but it was a lot to take in. So I'm like, all right. So as it kept on going, they really kind of showcased a lot of different, I don't know. I don't want to say anything went super slow or soft, but there are all kinds of different sounds. Lyrically, they touched on a lot of different things, and I started to hear little shades of things. So just kind of running through some notes I took. So I heard like a little bit of a boy band kind of sound, shades of that, like maybe by boy band, not so much New Kids on the Block, but maybe like a Blink 182 or something like that. And I Don't Need
Okay.
You to,
Yeah.
then you go to Down to Hell, and then Rob Zombie is there, and then I heard some Linkin Park and Here's to Starting Over, and maybe some Imagine Dragons and The Violence. If Imagine Dragons were to go like heavy, because that was definitely more of a hardcore song. Um, and not saying that they sound like those bands, but just trying to define their sound because it was so new to me because I don't remember listening to them before. Um, so that's kind of where I was, and I like all those bands. And so I just enjoyed. I thought that it was kind of cool. Their range, the vocalist range, and all of it really. In starting to read about them a little bit, I did discover that supposedly, oh, and this was what, album 6 out of 8.
Yeah.
Um,
This is very down the
and
Yeah,
catalog.
late in the catalog.
and also I think the vocalist on this was not the original, maybe.
That that is true. But the original vocalist did not stay long at all.
Correct.
Okay,
If the band
And
stems from 06 to 24, and the
yeah,
original vocalist only made it to like 08.
okay.
and there was a
brief
replacement in
stint
the
without
middle
him.
for a certain amount of time, which I didn't get. With them, it
From
was me.
from 15 to 16, there was a
Yeah,
small
for like
replacement.
1 year, and I don't know
Yeah.
what that reason. Didn't care. I just know that that album sounded different because the vocalist isn't Danny Worsnop. So there is a vocal difference. So
Well, so for somebody who might be out there and was familiar with them at a different time, I don't want to speak for that, but like they were identified as being a screamo band at one point in time, and post hardcore. I don't remember what.
post metalcore.
Okay. I mean, maybe I like heavier stuff than I thought, but I didn't find it to be
Well, there's no
overwhelming.
growl. That's probably why you didn't hate
Well,
it.
there was a little bit, like maybe the first 2 songs, and that's why, because that's the one thing I don't get into much is the growl. But he didn't overplay it. He used it, I would say, appropriately enough that it wasn't annoying. That's the thing. There's a lot of balance between the instruments and the vocals and the lyrics. So it was powerful, but nothing overpowered something else. I thought it all worked really well together. So I liked the song. I Don't Need You. So Grace Grundy, who I'd never heard of before, she,
Oh, Grace. Yes.
yeah,
I know. Yeah. Yep.
excuse me, she's featured on that song. And honestly, when I first heard it, I thought it was Halsey, but then I'm like, maybe not Halsey.
Yeah.
But I thought she did a really good job, and I thought they did a good job of incorporating her into the song because sometimes, people do that and they feature somebody, and either it's like a runaway train or it doesn't mesh well. But they did a really good job with that. And now I'd love to hear more of what she does too. But so, and again, like going back to the whole screamo and heavier thing. If that is the case, I thought their lyrics were really well developed. I think in some cases, bands that put out this type of music, they tend to just rely more on the music end, and they like kind of, I don't want to say get lazy on the lyrics because that's not the right way to say it, but the lyrics were well thought out, and they can stand on their own too. So that was not disappointing. Um, like you're saying, Alex, I think when you're starting like with a new, not even just a new album, but a band you're not familiar with, I think it's hard to take it all in without several listens to it because it's just not familiar sounding. So there were some lyrics that did jump out and stand out, but you're kind of listening to everything at once, so I'd probably have to go back a few times. But like I said, it all worked well together, and I enjoyed it. I'm trying to think if there was anything like that I didn't really like.
Well, the album did live up to its name for you because it did come out like a house on fire when you first heard it, and you
yeah.
put it down real quick. So it lived up in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my review of it back in 20 was just that way. If you're going to say that, then you better deliver it. And they certainly did. That's for sure. But they did manage to, and I think over the years, they have been able to grab more melody in what they do.
Yeah.
Even without losing what they normally do. So
right. Yeah, and the other and I'm not super familiar with them either, other than the ones that have been on the radio a bit, but kind of some shades of Blue October too, where they kind of skillfully handle the deeper subjects without going dark, but singing and talking about them in a way that you're not turned off listening to negative things. And, it doesn't sound like someone's just whining. They're sharing experiences. So it's definitely not like, it handles, I don't know, disappointment and chaos and it seems like holding on to things, grudges. So there's a lot of that going on, but it's not so much that you walk away feeling like you need a drink. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah, like I said, I didn't have there was no one song that was like, oh, okay, I can't handle that one. That one's too much.
no war.
But no, not at all.
No war.
Oh yeah.
All right, so here we go. Artwork, 0 to 5.
Artwork, I give it a 4. I'm not ever huge on the artwork of bands, but I think it works.
Yeah. Flow of the music.
I would give that a 5. I was comfortable with it.
The musicianship, the band melody.
I'll go 4.
Accessibility.
I would go 5 for sure.
Wow. That caught me off guard.
I think this album, like I said, but my first, they got more accessible. They really did. Sort of like some other bands that fall into that wheelhouse. Album production.
I argue that one because for me, I think of their work, yes, it could be accessible from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I think for some people that is I think it's a really hard album for everyone to get into, from especially like how you felt when you put the first 2 songs on and you were like not ready yet. So that's where I kind of was surprised. That's where my reaction came from when you said 5.
Well, I guess, I mean, again, for me, 2 songs out of 15, and they weren't bad songs. There's nothing wrong with them.
Right.
It was just, if there'd been more of that, then I would be like, okay.
Okay.
But yeah, if you can get over that little hurdle in the beginning.
But that's where I was surprised about the 5, because if some people start the album that way, are they even going to finish it?
I don't know. That is a good question. Although for some people, they might.
But I'll take it. Give it the 5. I want to have a good recommendation.
Yeah. You know what? She's changing it to a 2. Way to go.
But then again, I guess there's people out there who might love the first 2 and then be like, well, what the heck is this?
Yeah,
I don't know.
So. Yeah.
But to that point,
why did that one song go Hoobastang? Yeah. Album production.
Based on what I was talking about before, everything just kind of worked together. I would give it a 5.
Nice. 23. Well, So now the big question is, where does this fall into your listening habit now? Are you, first of all, you already said you're going to go down, you're going to try the rabbit hole of the female vocalist who, oh my God, why can't I think of her name suddenly?
Grundy.
Grundy,
Yep.
yeah.
Grace Grundy. Yep.
Grace.
So listening habits.
Oh, where is this going to fall?
I think I would definitely continue to listen to this. Again, like so this album, great. Again, if they have a history of screamo type stuff, I'm not quite sure, but I am curious now to know, where they went from here.
So Alex, you picked it. Why did you pick it?
Well, I think especially looking at Sue's listening, I wanted to kind of, for my own entertainment, challenge what she listens to because I was curious. I know she can handle a lot of rock music, and I mean, she listens to most of the shit that you listen to, which can be from any range of anywhere. So, so I kind of wanted to push a little bit, especially knowing that I listen to some heavier stuff and see where Sue would fall on this one and where she'd like it. I thought for a heavier album, it was one of the more complete albums I've listened to in my past. Like especially she brought up the violence as one of the tracks. That's the second to last track on a 15-song album. And that's
7 minutes long.
I think that was their top single off the album, which you never see from that far down the track list. And then actually, when I first heard the album, I was very surprised that in the track 15, the last song of an album. So assume I play this record track 1 to 15 down the line in order, sequentially. 15 being the last track you get to. You're not in anticipation of the last track hardly ever in any album you listen to. And that's one that has come on in my shuffle. And I go, man, the fact this was a last song, like it's a damn good song too.
Are you talking about Laura's a Pen?
Yeah. And it's one that I like just because it was a different style of how they ended the album with it. It was an outro and it didn't feel like an outro at the same time. It felt like an actual track that can be in the middle of this thing. So I was surprised how complete this album felt for me from a hard rock standpoint, and I was really, really into it. So I thought it'd be one that I was curious to see if Sue would enjoy it, if she was going to like something a little bit more rough and hard to listen to, that this was going to be a good way to find out. It is a really good album, I thought that way, and so I wanted to give it a shot. And the reveal of where you may have heard him before, and I say him because it is not the band, pretty sure Mark told me that you had listened to Danny Warsnop's Shades of Blue album.
He did mention that, but I don't, like, I can't hear it. I don't remember it. And
well, when you say you can't hear it in this. And that's why that album was so good, is because you can't even parallel that. You're like, this is the same guy? What? Like, you do one of those. So
blues band.
If you ever
like Colin James, that's kind of how it was. I mean, if you want to have fun, go listen to the blues album now that you've heard this and revisit that and go, holy shit. Because I also didn't realize how British this band was.
No, neither.
Because my buddy actually got a cameo from the lead singer. He's a massive fan of this band. And someone bought him one of those cameos of from the singer wishing him a happy birthday one year. Cool. And he sent it to me because he's like, oh my God, look who wished me a happy birthday. And Danny started talking, and I got that like a bit. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I can't tell what he, and then he sings and you're like, oh, that makes more sense like than when he talks.
Yeah.
So I was like, I didn't realize how British they were, and holy shit. So I was really curious to see where this would go, and I think there's so many different rabbit holes you can go off of on this one. You can go down Grace's, you can go down Danny's solo stuff. You can go back through their catalog and see what they've done, especially with a couple singer changes in there. You can have fun with this one. This will give you a lot of options.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to thank the panelists for doing this tonight because, without people doing this, the shows, they don't happen. And you don't get a taste of these albums. What did you think of these records? Let us know because, we want to know. Please like and comment. We would absolutely love to hear from you at any point in time. Thank you, as always, to our, viewers that have subscribed. If you want to subscribe, go right ahead. Doesn't cost a penny. We'll be back in 2 weeks for another album listen challenge. We have multiples of them in flux right now, but people haven't agreed on the dates and times. So check us out at beyondyourradio.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Coming up, album review Saturday. And yes, we are reviewing, and one of the albums is Taylor Swift's new record. You might be surprised, I think. Unknown Sunday, Rodrigo y Gabriel. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. Thank you as always, and happy listening.